Okay, chapter 1, part 2, which is really the heart of this class because we need to understand the idea of culture so we can talk about intercultural communication. Now, before we get into this, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the concept of social phenomena. There are several classes at Tunxis that are designed more or less to give students information about social phenomena and then to measure their understanding of it. Sociology is one of those classes. Intercultural communication is another. Interpersonal communication is one. Anthropology is one. So let me just say this, and I'll probably keep going over this in class also. So the idea of social phenomena is that a person or a group is, we're looking at the influences that shape a person or a group's attitudes, beliefs, emotions, symbols, and actions. And furthermore, we're going to look at how these influences are created, maintained, and altered by individuals, by families, by groups, by situations, or cultural means. Okay, so basically, the idea is we are influenced by our surroundings, but also we are influenced by our culture, but also we as individuals and as groups can influence culture. Okay, as I said, we'll keep coming back to this idea because it's, you look at it and you go, yeah, well, duh. And then later you look and you go, wait a minute, maybe I don't understand it. So we'll keep coming back to that idea. So let's look at our textbook uses the idea of culture. Huh. Okay. Their definition is, and this is on page 19 and it's in italics, so it should stand out. They should have bolded it, but a learned meaning system that consists of patterns of traditions, keywords here, beliefs, values, norms, meanings, and symbols that are passed from one generation to the next and are shared to varying degrees by interacting members of a community. Okay. In interpersonal communication, we have a kind of a simplified version, which is the language, values, beliefs, traditions, and customs people share and learn, which pretty much says the same thing. Okay, so what we are looking at is what are the different cultural patterns that are found in various groups and institutions, and what influence does culture have on some important aspects of society. Okay. In this section in the textbook, they talk about a concept they call in-groups and out-groups. They use these words, they write in-group as one word and out-group as one word. I don't like it. It just looks funny, but that's fine. Basically, this has nothing to do with like the popular kids and the unpopular kids. An in-group is the the people with whom we feel connected to. They are the members of our community. And anyone who is not a member of your community is an out group. Excuse me. Now this can change. So I'm on campus, and one of my in groups are the other faculty members because we're all faculty members and you guys aren't. So my in group would be faculty members. Well, your in group would be students. So in that case, I would be a member of your out group. All right. And then you leave campus and you go to work, and the people that you work with are a member of your in group, and everybody else is a member of your out group. And then you leave and you go hang out with your friends, and that's your in group, and everyone else is an out group. So this is the idea, is that it's fluid. So the in group are the people of the members of the community with whom you you share beliefs, values, norms, for that situation. Okay, what did I'm going to split this into because there's so much that's in this one section of the textbook, I'm going to split it into two parts. Right. The authors use an analogy which I think is pretty cool. They're saying culture is like an iceberg, and this iceberg has three layers. Okay, and it's the surface layer, which is, as you notice, it's above the water. It's what we see. I'm going to go into more details about popular culture in a minute. Then there's the intermediate level, and here comes all the vocabulary, symbols, meanings, and norms. And really pay attention to this part, because remember, this is what you're going to be writing about in your journal, the idea of norms. And then the deep level culture are traditions, beliefs, and values. And then and then there's the seafloor level. So let me take it from the top. The surface culture, the pop culture, is this is what we actually see, and so that is what we tend to use. Even those of us who say, oh, we don't judge people, we all do to some level. And even if we're not judging as we think of it, we're making assumptions based on things that we see. And yes, as we become more educated in the idea of intercultural communication, we were able to look beyond that. But it is human nature to look at not look, to first we think about perception. What's we're taking in certain data, which tends to be what we see or hear, and then we use that information to form judgments, to form our ideas, and sometimes we need to go beyond just what we see and hear. Okay, so that's why he says we have to be aware of our blind spots, any stereotypes and hidden biases that we might have. Well, it's really hard to be aware of something that's hidden. So, anyways, as we go on, we will talk a lot about the norms, specifically norms, beliefs, values, traditions. Okay. What's important to realize is below all of this, it's the seafloor, as they say. And the seafloor happens to be what we would consider universal human needs. So if you have taken a psychology class, you might be familiar with the work of the American psychologist Abraham Maslow, who came up with his hierarchy of needs. And so this is what they're talking about. So all human beings, universal human needs would be things like we all need food, we all need water, we all need to feel safe, we all need to have relationships with other people. We need to feel that we have accomplished something. We need to ultimately be able to become, this sounds kind of new agey, the person we were meant to be. We need to self-actualize. Okay, so the textbook says emotional security. I would even go, below emotional security, which is actual security, right? Inclusion, feeling a sense of belonging and connection, to have some control over our life, and to be respected, and to have the approval. Okay, so everybody has that. But I probably should have bolded this. However, okay, so remember, we all have these universal human needs, but how we express them differs, and who we express these needs to and in what situations we express these needs are going to be very different, because one culture says, it's okay to talk to everybody. Another culture says it's only okay to talk to those people you are closest to, etc. And we will get into this more as we go on. Okay, so I'm going to stay on this slide and just talk a little bit about surface culture, or what we call pop culture. That is, pop culture, the music, the clothing, the TV shows, let's see. I like this. The textbook says, as you are reading these words right now, at least 35% of our pop cultural examples will be outdated. Okay, so Um, I, the other day, I think it was yesterday, day before, I said to my son, I used the word tea and not the drink, but the idea of information or gossip, because my daughter had recently taught me that word. And he kind of looked at me like, oh, mother, you are so behind the times. So pop culture changes very quickly. All right. So when I was in high school, there was a kind of shoe that was very popular. And I'm not sure what they're called. We called them for some reason water buffaloes. It was a sandal, and the sole of this sandal, I'm using my, it had to have been 3 to 4 inches, like not the heel, the whole of it. So you were almost walking on this uh, cushion. And I loved them because when I was wearing them, I was as tall as everybody else because I'm only 5'2". So that was part of pop culture. I don't think they lasted very long. Um, if you think about what you thought was really cool to wear when you were in middle school, was it still the same in high school? Is it still the same now? So pop culture changes an awful lot. The shows that are popular on TV, the movies, the music that is in. So because this is what we see, this is how other people might conceptualize us. So when I lived in Niger, I think Baywatch was initially popular, and when people would ask me, where do you live? Usually, a lot of times people would say, where do you live, New York or California? Like those were the only two choices. And I remember saying to a friend of mine, people just assume that when I would get home, from when I would finish my classes would be done at college or I'd be done working, that I put on my bathing suit and went and ran around on the beach. Um, People also assumed, based on what they had seen in movies, that all American women were, how can I say this delicately, were of easy virtue, that all they had to do was look at me the right way and I would jump into bed with them. It's kind of part of pop culture. And at least in my case, so not true. All right. So as you listen to this, as you read that section, obviously the textbook goes into great detail about pop culture. But I am going to just talk about this, let you process it, think about questions you have, and then I'm going to come back and do uh, another little lecture on both the intermediate level and the deep level, and that's when we're going to look at a lot of the vocabulary in this chapter.